and welcome to the first episode of Strength Dojo podcast, brought to you by me, Sensei Jeremy. Today's topics will be 3 points. 1, how to get started in martial art. 2, what martial art should I join, e.g. judo or wrestling or jits? And then finally, 3, exercising before you join. Alright, getting started first. How to get started in martial arts. It's pretty simple. I don't know why it's such a common question, but here we go. Alright, first you want to decide, hey, I want to do a martial art. Figure out what martial art you want to do, or maybe what category. Now, do you want to do a lot of stand-up striking? Do you want to do grappling? Do you want to do both? Do you want to do something physically easier like Tai Chi? Do you want to do sparring? Do you want to stay away from that stuff? Do you want to do it purely for exercise? So, figure those things out. And then simply get on Google or another search engine and just search Dojo near me or Muay Thai near me, MMA near me, whatever. Then just make a list of the ones that catch your interest. Some of the variables you can be looking at is what they train, how they train, location, schedule, and finally cost. Cost, surprisingly, probably being the least important variable, even though for many be like, what? No, that's most important. I can't be dropping $200. Yeah, neither can I, but let's take, for example, a schedule. If you can only go to a class once a week, or maybe once a month even, and they charge, let's say, only $80 a month, well, that's $80 per class. That sucks. But let's say another one is more expensive, maybe $200 a month, but you can go there 3 to 4 times a week. That is a way better deal. So next, after you Google them, you will want to either email them or call them up and ask if you can do a sit-in session. Basically, you just sit, watch while they have one of their training sessions, and then just go through that with each dojo in your list. Then once you've done that through all of them, go back and call them, see. Actually, you'd probably do it after the sit-in session, but ask about a participation session. Some dojos will do like one class, some will do like 1 week. So just figure out what they do, go from there. Once you go through all those, kind of figure out which one you like the most, which one has the most positive environment, the one that you really groove with the most, and one that will probably best meet your goals and all the other variables that you're considering, such as cost. You might be thinking, well, Jeremy, how can I do all that when I don't even know what martial art I should do? I want to do judo, but I also kind of like wrestling. I also kind of like jits. Well, some locations can do all 3. Some locations will only do 1. But ultimately, like, oh man, what's the best one? Oh, I want to do the best. What's the most effective? A lot of times, it's really more about the martial artist who's more effective. Let's take a look at the UFC. Yeah, a lot of wrestlers have dominated, but wrestling is way more common in America. There's also tons of judokas, karatekas, sambo, and other arts that have done really well in the UFC and other championships. Now, granted, some martial arts aren't as effective, looking at you, Kung Fu, but for the most part, anyone that's tried and true, you're good to go. So, ultimately, find one that you enjoy, that you think you'll work hard towards, that you're not going to get burnt out on after a year or so, and one that you can physically do. If you're a 60-year-old, you probably aren't going to go around doing capoeira or tai-do. What I'm getting at is it doesn't matter too much. Just pick one. And after, 6 months, a year, whatever, you're just not feeling it anymore, no hard feelings. Just switch arts. You learn good fundamentals in the previous art, and you'll be able to take those and apply it to the new art you want to do, You might have to adjust some things. Like, for example, I took judo before I took jits. And the standard judo side control I discovered was not nearly as good as the general Brazilian jits one, where you're more chest to chest as opposed to the sit out that judo does. So it's just little things like that where you'll adjust, and as you combine your two arts, you'll be like, oh wow, this is pretty cool. And finally, exercising before you join. Most people say, hey, just start, and you'll get the exercise from that. They're totally right. But a lot of people are also socially anxious and don't want to just come in and be worried about gassing out within the first 5-10 minutes of class. They don't want to be embarrassed. I get that. So I highly suggest just dancing barefoot. You're like, what? Dancing? Jeremy, how is that gonna prepare me for martial arts? Well, martial arts is basically just violent dancing. They're actually really similar. A lot of dancing is a lot of cardio, some calisthenics. Some dancing even has kicks in it, like front kick, crescent kick, things like that. Some has jumping in it. And dancing has partners. Martial arts has partners. Sure, in martial arts, you're trying to beat that person up and you're not trying to be in sync. You want to counter them. I can't think of the word. Basically, counter time their attacks. Whereas dancing, you want to sync up and be smooth. But the point is, they're still very similar. Similar movements, physically pretty similar. It works cardio, as I mentioned, it works calisthenics, and it's a lot of footwork, so it'll start strengthening those foot muscles and ankles that you're probably not used to using as much. And along with that, you can start implementing calisthenics. The simplest way to do that, what is it called? The primal pattern movements. It's basically movements breaking down into their most base components, which would be using your upper body to push something away or using it to pull something towards you. Then there's the squat, there's lunge, there's the hip hinge, such as sit-ups or deadlifts. And then there's twisting and rotation movements, such as the windshield and so forth. There's also anti-movement things where you can get on later on, like landmine and pallet press, all that stuff. But in the beginning, just keep it simple, go for high reps, but mainly try to do the dancing. Start with 10, 15, 20 minutes, wherever you're at, maybe an hour. If you can dance for an entire hour straight, you are good. You're good to go. Just start martial arts immediately. Then on top of that, you want to finish it off with things that help your breathing and help your flexibility. And yoga would be the best for both, or at least very up there. To recap, most of your workout should be dancing. You can dance free groove to whatever's on the radio, or you can throw something on from YouTube. So that'll be the majority of your workout. Try to do as much as you can without pushing it too hard. Make sure you get doctor's permission, all that. Then after that cardio section, you'll want to do calisthenics. As I mentioned, push-ups, sit-ups, inverted rows, deadlifts, or hyperextensions, etc. Then either the next day recover with some yoga, or if you're really hardcore, just combine all three into one session. But for those of us who are older, I do suggest breaking it down into a 2-day split of dancing, calisthenics, then the next day, yoga, active recovery. And don't take too long doing that and putting off martial arts. The point is, maybe do that for a week, get up there, do the exercises while you're checking out all the various training centers. Then once you've settled on the one and get payment set up, get going, boom, you've already had about a week or so of acclimatizing to the training. So hopefully that answered your questions of how should I get started with martial arts, what martial arts should I do, and exercising before joining. And this has been Jeremy with Strength Dojo Podcast.